Yashoyanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashoyanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari 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 Jaya Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivājakacharya Astottara Srimad ISKCON Founder Acharya His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Prem Shri Gaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Shri Shri Radha Krishna Go Gopinath Syamakunda Radhakunda Giri Govardhan Ki Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Shri Dhammayapur Ki Gangamaya Ki Jamunamaya Ki Bhakti Devi Ki Tulsi Maharani Ki Gaur Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskricha Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasa Tato Jayam Udirayat Nasta Prayeshu Abadeshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Tomashloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, chapter 16, how Parikshit received the age of Kali, text number 31. ātmānam cānuśocāmi ātmānam cānuśocāmi bhavantam cāmarottamam devān pitṛn ṛṣīn sādhūn sarvān varṇāṁs tathāśramān ātmānam cānuśocāmi bhavantam cāmarottamam devān pitṛn ṛṣīn sādhūn sarvān varṇāṁs tathāśramān ātmānam cānuśocāmi bhavantam cāmarottamam devān pitṛn ṛṣīn sādhūn sarvān varṇāṁs tathāśramān ātmānam sanuśocāmi bhavantam cāmarottamam devān pitṛn ṛṣīn sādhūn sarvān varṇāṁs tathāśramān ātmānam cānuśocāmi bhavantam cāmarottamam devān pitṛn ṛṣīn sādhūn sarvān varṇāṁs tathāśramān ātmānam sanuśocāmi bhavantam cāmarottamam devān pitṛn ṛṣīn sādhūn sarvān varṇāṁs tathāśramān ātmānam cānuśocāmi bhavantam cāmarottamam devān pitṛn ṛṣīn sādhūn sarvān varṇāṁs tathāśramān. Ladies, ātmānam sanuśocāmi bhavantam cāmarottamam devān pitṛn ṛṣīn sādhūn sarvān varṇāṁs tathāśramān ātmānam sanuśocāmi bhavantam cāmarottamam devān pitṛn ṛṣīn sādhūn tathāśramān tathāśramān. Anyone else? Ātmānam, myself. Cha, also. Anuśocāmi, lamenting. Bhavantam, yourself. Cha, as well. Amara-uttamam, the best amongst the demigods. Devān, about the demigods. Pitṛn, about the denizens of Pitṛloka planet. ṛṣīn, about the sages. Sādhūn, about the devotees. Sarvān, all of them. Varṇān, sections. Tathā, as also. Ashramān, orders of human society. Srila Prabhupada's translation and purport. I am thinking about myself and also, O best amongst the demigods, about you, as well as about all the demigods, sages, denizens of Pitṛloka, devotees of the Lord, and all men obedient to the system of varna and ashram in human society. Please repeat. I am thinking about myself, and also, O best amongst the demigods, about you, as well as about all the demigods, sages, denizens of Pitṛloka, devotees of the Lord, and all men obedient to the system of varna and ashram. In human society. To effect the perfection of human life, there is cooperation between men and demigods, sages, denizens of Pitṛloka, devotees of the Lord, and the scientific system of varna and ashram orders of life. The distinction between human life and animal life, therefore, begins with the scientific system of varna and ashram. Guided by the experience of the sages in relation with the demigods, gradually rising to the summit of re-establishing our eternal relationship with the Supreme Absolute Truth, the Personality of Godhead. Lord Śrī Kṛṣṇa, when God made varṇāśrama-dharma, which is strictly meant for developing animal consciousness into human consciousness, and human consciousness into godly consciousness, is broken by advancement of foolishness, the whole system of peaceful and progressive life is at once disturbed. In the age of Kali, the first attack of the venomous snake strikes against the God-made varṇāśrama-dharma, and thus a person properly qualified as a Brahmin is called a Sudra, and the Sudra by qualification is passing as a Brahmin, and thus and the Sudra by qualification is passing as a Brahmin, all on a false birthright claim. To become a Brahmin by birthright claim is not at all bona fide, although it may be a fulfillment of one of the conditions. But the real qualification of a Brahmin is to control the mind and senses and to cultivate tolerance, simplicity, cleanliness, knowledge, truthfulness, devotion, and faith in the Vedic wisdom. In the present age, consideration of the necessary qualification is being neglected, and the false birthright claim is being supported even by a popular, sophisticated poet, the author of Rāma-carita-mānasa. This is all due to the influence of the age of Kali. Thus, Mother Earth, represented as a cow, was lamenting the regrettable condition. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jana Jana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Gena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So Maharaj Parikshit, he was wandering throughout his kingdom, and he saw a bull and a cow, and they were in great anxiety, having been beaten by a man dressed up as a king. He's a false king. He had no qualifications of a king, as Maharaj Parikshit was, and therefore he immediately took up his sword to vanquish this demoniac person who was beating the legs of the bull and beating on the cow as well, who is the Dharma, the bull being the representative of Dharma, and the cow being the demigoddess Mother Earth, Mother Bhumi. So these calamities started 5,000 years ago at the departure of Lord Krishna to his own abode. And at that point, the personality of Kali, he entered into this particular universe, and the beginning of Kali Yuga began. Praine manaso manda sumanda mataya manda bhagya hi upadrutaha. In the age of Kali, men are short-lived, their intelligence is very weak, they're very unfortunate, they're slow in practicing of spiritual practices, and the entire varnāśrama system, the Devi varnāśrama system of Brahmins, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Sudras, under the direction of the Personality of Godhead, all this is collapsed. And now we see that the Brahmins behave like Sudras. Tat karma nipanove paro mantra tantra visharada avaishnava nasat guru vaishnavanam swapacho guru. That although these so-called Brahmins, especially here in India, they claim to be Brahmins by birth, by caste, but none of them are actually following the practices of spiritual life, and neither are there actually most of them are not really practicing devotional service to the Lord. Saganan samatityaitan brahmabhuya kalpate. They're not even transcendental to the modes of material nature, Vishuddha Sattva. Whereas our tradition given by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and we see that Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he initiated anyone from any caste, even Malechas and Yavanas, Kirata Hunandra Pulinda Pulkar Shambira Shamba Yavana Kashadaya, Yene Chapapa Tadapashraya Shraya, Sudyanti Tasmai Prabhave Namaha, Prabhavishnave Namaha. That even you're born in a low family of a tribal, Kirata, Huna, Andhra, Pulinda, Pulkar, these are all very sinful tribal people or people from other parts of the world. However, if they get the mercy of a great devotee like Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur or A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, they can be transformed. This verse was also given by Sanatana Goswami. Yata kinchanatam yati kamsam rasa vijanataha tata diksha vidanena dvijadvam jayatenvinam. That even just as how bell metal can be turned by alchemistry into gold, so similarly a person born in the family of Sudras or less, as we see many of the disciples of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that they become dvijadvam jayatenvinam, they become second birth. They take second birth. They become more than Brahmins. Vaishnava is even more than a Brahmin. So this is what is being introduced by the great acharyas, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. He initiated many lower castes into the practice of devotional service. And they were able to transcend and become, in so many cases, as Srila Prabhupada became a great devotee, is a great devotee of the Lord. In Kali Yuga, the practice of chanting the holy names of the Lord, Yagya Sankirtane Prayir Yajanti Hi Shamedasha, that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has appeared, Krishna Varnam Tvisha Krishna, in the golden form, and he's establishing this Daivi varnāśrama system. So here, foolish people, they don't know the goal of human life. They're being misled by so-called kings, so-called leaders, presidents, prime ministers. These are all foolish personalities who are simply andaya tandir upaniyamanas titantri. It means that they're being led into darkness, blind leading the blind into a pit of darkness. Andayatander upaniyamanas. Nate vidusva artagatimi vishnum. In this particular canto is described that during the reign of Maharaj Yudhisthira, kamam vavarshanam kama vavarsha parjanya, that there is profuse rainfall due to the reign of Maharaj Yudhisthira, who was a great devotee of the Lord, and who made sure there was no sinful activities being performed in the entire world. He was the emperor of the entire world. Karma vavarsha parjanyam sarvakama dugamahi. Therefore the land was producing unlimited amounts of vegetables and fruits. Not only that, the mountains and lands were producing gold and jewels and emeralds and rubies and diamonds. The entire host of demigods and Mother Bhumi, they were providing so many necessities of life for the human beings and even the animals. So that is in the 4th chapter of the 1st canto, describing the reign of Maharaj Yudhisthira. And it's also described Shishumacha Vrajam Gavam, means that the cows, due to their happy and joyful nature, were moistening the pasturing grounds with their fatty milk bags. In this way, the cows were being very nicely protected. And in the purport there, Srila Prabhupada says, when we have sufficient grains, sufficient fruits, sufficient necessities for mankind, and gold and jewelry, what is the need of nightclubs and cinemas and movie houses and all these artificial so-called necessities of human society? What is the need of these things when the Lord and the demigods, under the superintendence of the Lord, Maya Dakshena Prakriti Suyate Satcharacharam, are providing so many wonderful things for human society? He says, in the so-called name of fraternity, why are they killing and slaughtering all the animals who are also praja, or citizens of the society? In the reign of Maharaj Yudhisthira, not even an ant could be killed. Not even the insects. All beings were atpranat putravat pasyan. One should see that all living beings are one's children. So in the 7th canto, the Avadhuta describes Sarasrip kaga mukshikaha, that even the sarasrip, the snakes, the serpents, and kaga, insects, and mukshika, even the flies, atmavat putravat pasyam, one should see them as one's own children in the household. So this was the understanding of great saintly persons, that they could see that all living beings, mamai vamso jivaloke jivabhuta sanatana, that all living beings are meant to be protected by the Lord and by the kings and by the Vaishyas. Krishi go rakshavanijam vaishyakarma swabhavajam. So Srila Prabhupada condemns this society that we live in today, so-called modern society. He condemns them, and at the end of his purport he says, simply a society of hogs and dogs. And then, of course, there's so many directives given by Rishabhadev to his 100 sons. Nayam deho deha bhajan riloke kastan kamhan arhate vidbhujamye. That we should not work like dogs, like animals, just for the pleasures of that which is available to those animals that eat stool. Nayam deho deha bhajan riloke kastan kaman arhate vidbhujam. Vid means a pig, a dog, a hog. So this is the unfortunate situation in Kali Yuga, that people are simply dvipada pashu, two-legged animals, and they have no understanding. As Krishna says in the 18th chapter, adharmam dharmam itiya manyate tamasa vritaha. Those in the mode of ignorance, tamasa, they don't know what is real dharma and what is adharma. In fact, they take adharma to be their dharma. So when the devotees are preaching to stop animal slaughter, to stop the indulgence in intoxication and illicit sex life and gambling, then they're met with a lot of opposition from the so-called society, the society at large, the status quo. The status quo in this age is simply yan maitunari guiamedi sukami tucham kanduya neno kavayor eva dukkha dukyam. That they're simply connecting for sense gratification. Man and woman come together, and then they have sense gratification. They produce some children which have no samskaras, and therefore these children become of a demoniac nature. So this is condemned by Prahlāda Maharaj, by all the great Mahajans. Why? It creates chaos in society, as we see here. So here Maharaj Parikshit, he is a great saintly king. In fact, even within the womb, he saw the Supreme Lord within the womb. When Ashvatam released the Brahmastra to kill the last descendant of the Pandavas, Krishna came and protected him. So in this age of Kali, people, they have no faith in the Lord at all. They have no real faith. Even under the banner of so-called religion in Kali Yuga, what is so-called religion? Simply trying to enjoy this material world. As they say, God gave us this world to enjoy. No. Dukalayama shashvatam napnumanti mahatmanas shamshidim paravam gatim jaran marana moksha. Like, the material world is full of misery. Dukalayama shashvatam. There's absolutely no happiness in this world. And there's simply, as Prahlāda Maharaj told his father, that savarmanyesura varya dehinam sada samudvigya didama sadgrahat hitvatmapatam griham andakupam vanam gatoya dharam ashriyeta. He told his father, my dear, best of the demons. He says, simply take up spiritual life, take up devotional service to the Lord. Try to recognize the Lord within your heart. Understand the Supreme Lord. And get out of this deep, dark well of material existence and go to the forest of Vrindavan, Vanam gato yad dharam ashriyeta, and take shelter of Lord Hari. This is, we know that Dhruva Maharaj, even he was trying to get some bigger kingdom than his father, and he went to the Madhuvan forest and performed great austerities for the purpose of getting some material benefit, but he became purified by his great austerities and eventually became a pure devotee of the Lord. So Prahlāda Maharaj, he's also advising his demonic father. So like that, Parikshit Maharaj, the very merciful king, he's also maintaining performance of sacrifices, maintaining the varṇāśrama system, Daivi varṇāśrama system. Everyone is, all harmony is there in society. The Brahmin culture is being protected. And in this way there is peace and prosperity in human society. Prabhupada used to say that during the time of the Pandavas, when they ruled the earth, that they had golden chariots and they would eat off gold plates every day. And then after they finished eating, they would throw it out in the streets, and the lower castes, they would get some gold and take it home. This way there was so much abundance. He said, what do they have now? I remember he said, what do they have now? Plastic. He said, now they have plastic plates. And he was just looking and condemning so-called leaders in our society today. Tesham ku patadestrinam patatam tamasi yadaya. People, ye shuddhadana vachaste vai majanti ashma plavayava. People have no knowledge. They have no understanding. They're simply considering themselves like, I am this body. Just like Maharaj Indradumna. He was actually at an ashram, and he was meditating on the Supreme Lord in pure ecstasy. But one Muni came along and was not properly greeted by Indradumna Maharaj. And so this sage cursed him, Agastya Muni. He cursed him. He said, "You did not respect this Maya as a great Brahmin, a great sage. I curse you to take birth as an elephant." So in his next birth, although he was so Krishna conscious that he remembered, even as an elephant, pure devotional service to the Lord, but he was cursed to become an animal. The good news is that he constantly remembered the Supreme Lord, and we know that he was going through the forest near the Trikuta mountain range, which was surrounded by the ocean of milk. And he was such a powerful elephant that all animals feared him. And as he was going into a lake with his relatives and friends and children, that the crocodile had grabbed his foot, and there was a constant battle for a long time, thousands of years. And finally, he felt so weak, he simply took shelter of the Lord. And the Lord appeared and killed the crocodile, who was actually a king called Hu, and liberated Gadendra back to the spiritual world. So, Neha Vikramo Naso Sri Prativada Navijate Swalpam Api Ātmā-dharmasya Trayate Mahato Bhayat. It behooves all human beings to take shelter of the Lord. There's no loss or diminution on this path. And Krishna promises Arjuna that it will save you. Any little bit of devotional service you render to the Lord will save you from the greatest fear. And what is the greatest fear? As Krishna says in the 16th chapter, Asurashu eva yonishu, that if you are completely atheistic and demoniac in your human form of life, if you waste this human form of life, tanaham dushata kuran samsareshu naradamam, you're a naradham. Naradham means the lowest of all human beings. You may have some high education. You may be a doctor or a brain surgeon or a rocket scientist, highly materially educated. But if you do not accept the Supreme Lord within your heart, then he says, Shipami ajashum ashubam, I cast you into the lower species of life. Asureshu eva yonishu, into the wombs of dogs and cats. So we don't offer any respect to these blind leaders of society, these foolish so-called leaders, prime ministers, presidents, so-called kings, so on, because they don't have a drop of interest in serving the Supreme Lord. And they're misguided by the modes of material nature, by maya duratyaya, moga shamoga karmano, moga jnana vichesisaha, rakshashim asurim chaiva, prakriti mohinim shridaha. Krishna condemns them as being bewildered by his external energy. And the entire society is in chaos. So here, although Prabhupada says that the varnāśrama system is meant for developing animal consciousness into human consciousness and human consciousness into godly consciousness, it is broken by the advancement of foolishness. This is called the cultivation of nescient activities. Andam tama pravishanti yevidam upasate. In the Upanishads is described that those who cultivate the process of nescience, or material knowledge, simply glide down into the lower regions of hell. This is simply, as Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, patanti narake sucho, aneka chitta vibranta mohojala samaritaha. They're pursuing so many things. They're inventing so many things. They're like fish caught up in a net. Kama paboga praneshu mohojala patanti narake sucha. They're simply gliding down to the planets of Lord Yamaraj. The hellish planets are described in the 5th canto. So many hellish planets. Even if you're very wealthy and you're very proud of your wealth, there's a hellish planet for you. It's called Suchimukha. And there's creamy Bhojana, where you take birth like a worm and the worms feed on you. And Andatamishra and Maharurava, all these various planets. This is the predicament of modern man. He's driving his Lamborghini and his Ferrari, and he's living in a multi-million-dollar house, and he's simply, adomaya hata, idam adyamara labdam imam prapshe mano. I'm so wealthy today, and I will gain more wealth according to my schemes. This person is my enemy, I have to get rid of him, like this. And what happens at the time of death? It's described by Kapila Dev. His throat chokes up. He can't even speak, and his relatives are surrounding him, and they're, waiting for daddy to die so they can inherit his wealth, And then he sees the Yamadutas coming towards him, and he passes stool and urine, Kapila Dev says. And then they take him out of his gross body, his subtle body, and they drag him on the road to hell. Although it's many thousands of yojanas away from this planet, Yamaloka, he's dragged there in a few moments. In a few moments he's dragged there, and the dogs of hell are eating away at his flesh. This is all described in the Srimad Bhagavatam by Kapila to Mother Devahuti. This is the predicament of our modern society, modern men, and they're all glorifying these fallible soldiers. So-and-so is such a great person. He can make a good Bollywood movie. He's so wealthy. Yeah, he's so rich. They glorify these false leaders, false personalities, not knowing that the kalosmi, Krishna says, kalosmi bhartarshava, time I am the destroyer of the world. I have come to engage all men, except for you, the Pandavas. Everyone on this battlefield will be destroyed, will be vanquished, right? He says that. So the only shelter, Krishna tells Arjuna, the only shelter, cetasa sarvakarmani, mayi sanyasya matpara, become conscious of me. Practice your entire life to remember the Lord. And you can't remember someone if you don't like them. So the demoniac man, the materialistic man, he's so covered by Maya. Asatyam apratishtam te jagata huranishvaram. He says there's no foundation to this world. There's no personality controlling this world. There's no one that created this universe. Such a foolish idea. Obviously there's so much order. Prabhupada said, if you see a machine working and you ask yourself, Prabhupada said, there must be an operator of this machine. If you see a bulldozer out there and it's moving along doing something in a very, purposeful way, purpose means there's an operator there to fulfill certain purposes. This is called teleology. We're living in a teleological universe. It means that something is a cause, something else is an effect, which serves a purpose. Just like the sunlight, it's causing photosynthesis. Without sunlight, you can't have any food. Without moonlight, Krishna says, I enter into the moon and supply the nutrient, the juices. He says that in the Bhagavad Gita. Everything is cause and effect for the purpose, teleology. And I just say, just by chance. There's no God in control, there's no God. So, atat pumbir dvija shreshtas varṇāśrama vibhagashaha. Sunustitasya dharmasya samsiddhir haritoshanam. That the whole purpose of the varnāśram system, the whole purpose of everyone's occupation is to engage in loving devotional service unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Vishvaksena katasa notpadi yadi ritim shrama eva hi kevalam. If not, if by your engagements and your service you're not becoming enlivened in remembering the Supreme Lord and His transcendental activities and pastimes, then you're wasting your life. Even you're big scientists like Einstein, or all these big scientists with their big brains. Mayaya aparita jnana. Their intelligence is stolen by illusion. And they're so bewildered, like Krishna's Maya Shakti is so powerful that it bewilders. The living entity has no way of understanding who he is or anything. The Krishna's Maya is extremely powerful and overwhelming, right? So Maharaj Parikshit himself, he accepts the spiritual guidance of Sukadeva Goswami, and he asks Sukadeva Goswami, what is the duty of a human being on the threshold of death? Actually, ahani bhutani gachanti yamalayam shesastavaram ichanti kimascharmatapuram. That Maharaj Yudhisthira tells Yamaraj at the lake of death, he says, step by step, everyone is approaching the time of death. Gachantiya Yamalayam. Everyone has got to meet Lord Yamaraj. And he says the greatest wonder in the world is no one is thinking, oh, I could be next. In 5 or 10 minutes, I could be next. We don't know. That's all written. Chanakya Pandit says this is all written on your forehead inside the womb. How much wealth you get, how much misery you get, how much happiness you get, how many children you get, how long you live, longevity. Chanakya Pandit says it's all written on your forehead within the womb of your mother. Karmana daiva netrana deya jehu patamapataya striyo pravishtumadarat pumso reta kanashraya. Kapila Dev states this, that by your previous activities and karma, everything is written there, and you get a certain womb. You get conceived in a certain womb by your father and mother. So the only purpose is for us, as Maharaj Parikshit is doing, he's inquiring from Sukadeva Goswami, his spiritual master, what is the purpose of my life? What happens at the time of death? Where am I going? And therefore Sukadeva Goswami elaborates 18,000 verses of Srimad Bhagavatam. And the ultimate, he starts with the feet of the Lord, and the 10th canto is a smiling of the Lord. Prema Pumarta Mahan. That Maharaj Parikshit, of course, he saw the Lord within his heart, Lord Vishnu, Lord Krishna. And so he was always searching, where's this beautiful blue person? So, like that, Premanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochena Sada Sadevi Hridayoshi Vilokayantam, that Lord Brahma himself is glorifying Govinda. Even he came down to the planet and tried to play tricks with Lord Krishna and steal the calves and cowherd boys. Eventually he was his main purpose was he wanted to seek Lord Krishna in his Damodar form, in his young, youthful form, his childhood form, eating some nice preparations by Mother Yashoda while herding the calves in Vrindavan. This is the goal of human life. Golokera Premadana, the goal of life. How to cultivate love for God, how to love God, Prabhupada would say. That is our right and our benefit, that within our hearts, love of God is lying dormant. And Cheto Darpana Marjanam Bhava Mahadavagni Nirvapanam, the Lord is giving us a very, very easy process in Kali Yuga. Krishna was killing demons left and right, although many of them got benefits, like Shishupal. When he cut Shishupal's head off, Shishupal's soul entered into Krishna's body. Krishna is so merciful. You can't say Krishna is mean because he's killing Shishupal. He entered into his body, he got moksha. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is way more merciful. Is Krishna in the form and mood of Srimati Radharani, He's way more merciful because he's simply without any qualification. Even you could be a murderer. Jagai Mata were murderers, rapists, right here in this area. And he benedicted them with pure prema. We got pure prema, pure love of Lord Krishna. That is the benediction being offered by the Supreme Personality of Godhead in this age of Kali Yuga. The Gauranga Mahaprabhu is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself, Śrī Kṛṣṇa Chaitanya Radha Krishna Nahe Anya. He's Krishna, but he's in the compassionate mood, Karunya. Radharani is one of her qualities, Karunya, very compassionate. And Patita Pavana Hetu Tava Avatar, Mosamo Patita Prabhu Napai Vihara. Narottam Das Thakur says, you are merciful to the pitiable, Patita Pavana. You're merciful to those who are so pitiable that they're committing so many sinful activities. Every day in the West, we see people eating hamburgers. A hamburger is derived from the slaughter of many cows. And we know the cow is meant to be protected. Within her body, all the demigods reside. Lakshmi resides in the anus of the cow. The cow, Atmamata Guru Patni, Brahmani Rajapatni Kid, Deni Datri Tata Pridvi, Denur. One of her 7 mothers is the cow. And they just slaughter her for her flesh. So here Dharma is saying, are you lamenting because in the future the unlawful meat eaters will exploit you for your pleasure of tasting the flesh? Going on every day. What kind of sinful reactions will these people have? For every hair on the body of each cow they consume, they get one birth in Maharurava, a hellish planet, where the Rurus will simply attack them and devour them. So how many millions of births in that Maharurava are you getting? But in one moment, if you chant the holy name of Krishna, even if you say it like Hare Krishna out of jest, just jokingly, Hare Krishna, at that moment, Bhaktisiddhanta promises you become free from more sinful activities than you could ever commit. That is the gift in Kali Yuga. Haridas Thakur tells Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, I know Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is in so much anxiety for all these fallen Kali Yuga souls. They're all drifting down to the hellish planets. We said simply by the chanting of Hare Krishna, by a Malecha or Yavana, while answering to the call of nature, and he's gored by a hog, by a boar, and he goes, Harama, Harama, how abominable. That person at that moment becomes liberated from the reactions of all sinful activities. That is the mercy of the holy name. Kali Kalira Namarupa Krishna Avatar Namahoite Hoy Sarva Jagat Nishtar. In the age of Kali, the Lord invests all his potencies, right? Nam Namakari Bahudan Nija Sharva Shaktis Tatarpita Niyamita Smaranena Kala. That the Lord invests all of his potencies. Can you imagine his potencies? That there's millions and trillions of universes. And Haridas Thakur has described that they're just like little mustard seeds in a bucket. Yad yad vibhuti matradvam Srimad urjitam evava tata vivavagachatvam mamote jamsa sambhava. He tells Arjuna that all these wonderful, miraculous things you're seeing, my Virat Roop, all the demigods, the Apsaras, the Gandharvas, the Charanas, the Kinnaras, the lower hellish planet, all these living creatures, 8,400,000 species, all the various universes coming out of the pores of Mahavishnu. It's just a spark of my splendor. Just a spark. Can you imagine the potency of the son of Maharaj Nanda? He's so powerful, and yet he's won over by the affectionate ropes of Mother Yashoda's love. And she ties him up and ties him to the mortar like that. And he's deriving far more pleasure than the great sages and the Vedic sages who are offering prayers of awe and veneration to him. You're this, you're great, you're this and that. You're in every atom, you're in everyone's heart, you're indomitable, infallible, he doesn't care. He got so bored when Mother Yashoda saw the universe within his mouth that he put back some yoga maya on her, just covered her over. Because this pure bhakti, the river of pure bhakti yoga, says that the tree of Radharani, no, the river of Radharani has far long abandoned the tree of her husband and has broken through the bridge of social convention and passed over the hills of elderly views and is now flowing towards the ocean of Krishna, only to be met with the waves of disconcerting words by Krishna. When the gopis were running to the forest, Krishna would start speaking to them about the morality of married women and discouraging them. This is Krishna's joking. First he'd play his flute, and Krishna's flute playing is actually the song of his heart. It's described by Vishwanath Chakravarti that Krishna's flute playing is a song coming out of his heart. And this flute playing, this music, is entering into the air holes of the gopis and summoning them. Come and dance with me in the dead of night in the forest. And this is the highest concept of love of God. And when the gopis run from their homes and Purnamasi covers all the relatives and husbands over so they think their gopis' wives are lying there with them, they're dancing in the forest for one night of Lord Brahma. One night of Brahma, they're dancing 4,800,000,000 years, dancing with Krishna in ecstatic love of God, the rasa dance. And all the demigods come there to observe Krishna's dancing with the gopis, and he's expanding himself innumerably times with the gopis. And he's in the center with Radharani. And they're dancing ecstatically in the dance of love, amorous love. Madhurya Ras. And the demigods are in such ecstasy that Lord Indra, from all his thousands of eyes, tears are pouring like showers of rain and refreshing Lord Krishna and the gopis as they dance. And Lord Brahma, with his 8 eyes, his eyes are rolling in ecstasy. And Lord Shiva, he's playing on his dim drum and he's dancing in ecstasy. This is all described by the great Acharya, Vishwanath Chakravarti, and the other great devotees like the 6 Goswamis, is what is love of God. This is what they're giving to us. They're being empowered by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan, right? To give us this wonderful understanding of the highest concept of love of God, the love that the gopis have for Krishna. In fact, these 6 Goswamis, they're all manjaris, very close associates of the gopis and Radharani. Rupa Goswami, Raghunath Das Goswami, Sanatan Goswami. They're all manjaris, isn't it? And so they're empowered by the Lord to spread Krishna consciousness. And Krishna Shakti Vinana Tara Parvartana. Srila Prabhupada was empowered to cross the ocean with no money, nothing except his Bhagavatam. For first canto, 3 volumes, Srimad Bhagavatam, power-packed. And he went to New York in the worst place. This is like drunken people, slums, dirt, people dying in the street there from alcohol poisoning. And this is where Prabhupada landed himself. But he's completely transcendental. He was at home. Whether you're in a palace, Aniketa Sthiramatir, Krishna says in the 12th chapter. Aniketa Sthira, it doesn't matter if I live under a tree or in a palace. Doesn't matter. Prabhupada didn't care. He's completely transcendental. And that's where he established the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. 26 2nd Avenue, east side of, what do they call it, the East Village, outside of the Bowery. Very degraded place. And that's where this great movement started. humble beginnings, empowered by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to spread this movement, this Sankirtan movement. And now, in every country, there's so many temples, so many devotees, surrendering their lives to this great mission of Lord Chaitanya, surrendering their lives to Krishna, right? This is the great miracle. There's so many yogis in America doing so-called miracles. Swamiji, what's your miracle? And he said, this is my miracle. All these young boys and girls, we were actually varṇāśrama-dharmas. Prabhupada says varṇāśrama means hippie. No rules, no regulations. Simply try to enjoy your senses. No limits. Just try to enjoy, And we're all trying to enjoy and suffering like anything. Rajasastu palam dukam. The only fruit you get from Rajagun is dukam. What to speak of tamagun? But Prabhupada was able to turn muchi hoy, suchi hoy, dirty people into suchi, into clean devotees of the Lord, and enthusiastically pick up Krishna consciousness. As Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, I order every man in the universe to become Krishna conscious and give it to everyone else, especially if you're born in Bharat Bhumi. Bharata Bhumite Manusya Janma Hoy, Janma Sartakakara Parakara Upakara. And now we see, after Prabhupada went to the West and started the movement, we see all the personalities, all the inhabitants of Bharat Bhumi, which is a high birth, pious Punya Bhumi. Everywhere you go in India, there's temples, there's Ram, Sita, Hanuman, Lord Shiva, Krishna, everywhere. So therefore Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said it is the duty of those born in Bharat Bhumi to re-establish this Vedic system, the varṇāśrama system, Daivi varṇāśrama, and give it in vadanyaya with great magnanimity, give it to others. Take all risks. Prabhupada took all risks. He risked his life. And when they interviewed Prabhupada, why all these young people, how did you attract them? He said, they have given me their life. These young boys and girls have given me their life. We gave our lives because Srila Prabhupada was so inspiring. He was such a great lover of Krishna. It was just like seeing the sun rise. Krishna Surya Samaya, Maya Haya Andakar. It's just like the sun rising. In fact, George Harrison wrote a song, Here Comes the Sun. It was about Srila Prabhupada. The sunlight of a great devotee of the Lord. And so we were inspired. Give your life, give everything. Give one lifetime to the Acharya and Krishna and go back home, back to Godhead. It is now time to stop. So there's no time for questions, unfortunately. Thank you for listening. And Hare Krishna, all glories to Srila Prabhupada.